This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, first in the Caribbean, the Pentagon launches Operation Southern Spear, reporting 82 alleged narco-terrorists killed in surge of U.S. strikes. Officials insist the campaign targets drug networks and reject claims of unlawful attacks. In Venezuela, lawmakers and Vice President Delcy Rodriguez slam a U.S. court order allowing the sale of CITGO's parent firm. They call it forced dispossession and accuse opposition figures of enabling the move. High-stakes diplomacy in Moscow. U.S. and Russia conclude nearly 5 hours of talks described by a Kremlin aide as useful, constructive, and very substantive. The meeting comes as Washington pushes a revised peace plan for the Ukraine war. China-Russia ties. Beijing welcomes Moscow's visa-free entry for Chinese travelers, allowing 30-day stays. Officials say the move deepens tourism, business, and family exchanges. On Hong Kong's Taipo fire, Chief Executive John Lee orders a judge-led probe into the fire that killed at least 151. He confirms the Legislative Council election will still proceed. Congress under pressure. Lawmakers in Manila grow uneasy as an ongoing probe threatens to expose names linked to the alleged flood control scam. Showbiz drama. Actress Chiu files a qualified theft case against her sister Lakambini over financial discrepancies. Fans are stunned as the family feud unfolds in court. I'm Almar Forsuelo. Newsline World starts now. Lawmakers in the National Assembly and Vice President Delcy Rodriguez condemned the ruling from U.S. court authorizing the sale of CITGO's parent company, calling it a forced disposition and accusing opposition figures of aiding the process. This report from Jane Cudnita.
Venezuela's National Assembly approved a unanimous agreement rejecting the court-ordered sale of CITGO, the U.S.-based refining subsidiary of PDVSA. Deputies gathered in a plenary session in Caracas and presented investigation documents alleging that U.S. authorities and opposition groups facilitated the company's seizure.
Una propuesta de acuerdo trae el rechazo de todo un pueblo, del Estado venezolano, del gobierno a lo que es el expolio de la empresa venezolana CITGO por parte del gobierno estadounidense y sectores de la derecha fascista nacional.
Infante linked the dispute to the period coinciding with U.S. President Donald Trump's first term and Venezuela's then opposition-controlled parliament. At a separate press conference, Vice President Delcy Rodriguez issued a strong denunciation of the U.S. court ruling, calling the process a vulgar and barbaric dispossession and insisting Venezuela and PDVSA were excluded from defending themselves.
El gobierno de la República Bolivariana de Venezuela rechaza enérgicamente la decisión adoptada en el procedimiento judicial de, entre comillas, venta forzosa de la empresa CITGO Petroleum Corporation, CITGO, que ha sido ejecutado por las autoridades de los Estados Unidos de América en perjuicio de los intereses de Venezuela y sus entidades, y que constituye un vulgar y bárbaro despojo de un activo venezolano en territorio estadounidense mediante un proceso fraudulento.
She added that the government will pursue all legal avenues to hold those responsible accountable, including international players she claims supported the sale. CITGO, acquired in the 1990s, operates major refineries in the United States and is considered one of Venezuela's most valuable foreign assets. The ruling approved the sale of PDV Holding, CITGO's U.S.-based parent company, to Amber Energy, a subsidiary of Elliott Investment Management. Both the government and parliament say they will continue contesting the sale, framing it as a battle for sovereignty and control over one of Venezuela's key economic pillars. This has been Jane Cudnita, Global Citizen Correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
A high-stakes round of U.S.-Russia diplomacy stretched for hours between Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff. This meeting comes as Washington pushes a revised peace plan for the war in Ukraine. In Moscow, a rare face-to-face between Putin and Witkoff lasted almost 5 hours, according to Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov. Ushakov described the exchange as useful, constructive, and very substantive, raising expectations, though only cautiously. The diplomacy may be inching forward.
Беседа была весьма полезной, конструктивной. Кстати, об этом много и раньше говорилось на предыдущих встречах, но сейчас было подчеркнуто, что нужно как-то уже, если мы хотим действительно сотрудничать, для этого огромные возможности есть, то нужно уже проявить реальное стремление к этому, как в Москве, так и в Вашингтоне.
The Kremlin later confirmed that Jared Kushner, President Trump's son-in-law, has joined the U.S. negotiation team. The meeting follows President Trump's rollout of 28-point peace plan, a roadmap that would require Ukraine to accept major territorial consensus, recognizing Crimea and the breakaway republics as Russian, dividing Kherson and Zaporozhye by current battle lines, and limiting Ukraine's military to 600,000 troops while enshrining neutrality.
Согласиться, и президент это подтвердил своим собеседникам. Что-то у нас вызвало критику, и президент тоже не скрывал наше критическое и даже отрицательное отношение к ряду предложений. Но главное, что состоялась весьма полезная дискуссия, и главное, еще раз подчеркну, что стороны заявили о готовности продолжать совместную работу для достижения мирного, долгосрочного мирного регулирования на Украине.
Putin welcomed parts of the plan, saying it could serve as the basis for a final deal, but Kiev and European leaders firmly rejected it. The European Union has countered with its own proposal, calling for an immediate ceasefire and reparations funded by frozen Russian assets. Trump later said his plan has been narrowed to 22 points after consultations with U.S. allies. In a news conference in Bishkek, Putin said more negotiations would follow during Witkoff's visit, signaling that diplomatic talks, long stalled, may now be entering a new phase. China welcomed Russia's new visa-free policy for Chinese citizens, allowing 30-day visits for tourism, business and family trips, boosting bilateral ties and people-to-people exchanges. Prince Tripoli has the details.
China warmly welcomed Russia's new visa-free travel policy for Chinese citizens. At a press briefing in Beijing on Tuesday, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian described the decision as good news, noting that it demonstrates stronger cooperation between the two countries. According to the decree signed by Russian President Vladimir Putin, Chinese citizens will be granted visa-free entry to Russia for up to 30 days for tourism, business, family visits, and cultural activities. This mirrors the visa-free policy that China first granted to Russian citizens in September.
你提到的是一个好消息，中俄实现互免签证是两国政府和人民又一次的双向奔赴。相信呢，这将进一步的增进两国人民的友好，促进各领域的交流合作。我们真诚的欢迎更多的俄罗斯朋友利用免签政策来一次说走就走的中国游，也期待中国公民用好免签政策，开启美好的俄罗斯之行。
Lin encouraged more Russian tourists to visit China and reminded Chinese citizens to also take advantage of the opportunity to travel to Russia. Meanwhile, passenger activity at Beijing Capital International Airport was lively on Tuesday, following the official implementation of the reciprocal visa-free policy between China and Russia. This new policy marks a new chapter in cross-border travel between the two countries. Many passengers were eager to take advantage of the easier travel arrangements provided by the visa-free policy. Travelers expressed support for the policy.
这个免签政策不但是对我们两国的关系，还有经济啊，还有我们的旅游啊、行业啊，会有一个很大的发展，非常好的一个政策。感谢普京总统能够特别快的，就是再一次的提高这个速度。
然后这次免签之后，我公司的同事以及对我的个人出行都带来了极大的便利。至少到明年9月14号之前，我不用再像之前一样申请我的商务或者是我的3年的这个工签去，这手续上便捷了很多。我认为这个是整体来说是一个非常利好的一个消息。
The policy expected to bring significant benefits to people-to-people exchanges, particularly in the tourism sector, which is likely to be the first to experience growth. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Prince Tripoli, SMNI News.
Up next, on Hong Kong's Taipei fire, Chief Executive John Lee orders a judge-led probe into the fire that killed at least 151. He confirms that the Legislative Council election will still proceed. And Congress under pressure. Lawmakers in Manila grow uneasy as ongoing probe threatens to expose names linked to the alleged flood control scam. More news when Newsline World returns.
Isang pindot lang, pwede kang maka-jackpot. Mukhang masaya at easy money lang. Sa murang halaga, pwede ka na tumaya sa online gambling at e-casino apps. Mayroong sabong, slot machines, mahjong, poker at iba pa. Kailangan mo lang ng smartphone, e-wallet at internet. Pero ang aliw na ito, unti-unting nagiging bitag para sa mga Pilipino. Lalo na kung ang paborito mong artista o influencer ang mukha ng app. Mas madaling makaengganyo, diba? Parang safe naman kasi may kilalang mukha. Pero sa likod ng ngiti, sugal pa rin ang itinutulak. At syempre, mas madali ring itago ang pagkalulong sa bisyong ito. Walang pisikal na kasino o pasugalan, walang kaharap, walang accountability, kaya't mas lumalala ang adiksyon. Dagdag pa rito, maraming online gambling apps at walang regulasyon. Sa likod ng mga makukulay na interface at papremyo, nakatago ang problemang bumabalot ngayon sa bansa. Ang pagkalulong ng maraming Pilipino sa online gambling. Pwede maglaro kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sino, bata man o matanda, pwedeng malulong. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pagkakalulong sa online gambling ay nagdudulot ng matinding stress at anxiety, pagkakabaon sa utang, pagkawasak ng pamilya, pagkawala ng tiwala sa sarili. At tulad ng ibang bisyo, may mga senyales ito tulad ng hindi makapagpigil kahit walang pera, palihim na tumataya, pagpapabaya sa trabaho, pamilya o sarili. Sa bawat taya, may mga taong tunay na kumikita, mga malalaking negosyante at investors na negosyo ang bisyo ng masa. Para sa kanila, perang pumapasok lang ito. Pero para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, kabuhayan at relasyon ang nauubos. At ang masakit, tila matagal itong nahayaan. Hindi ito naging prioridad ng mga nakaupo sa taas hanggang sa sobrang lumala at halos naapektuhan na ang buong komunidad. Ngayon, sa dami ng nalulong at sa laki ng pinsalang naidulot, saka palalong umugong ang mga panukalang batas para higpitan ng online gambling, gaya ng pagbabawal sa paggamit ng e-wallets para tumaya, pagtaas ng minimum bet, mas mahigpit na identity verification, pag-block ng mga illegal na gambling sites, at bawasan o ipagbawal ang mga ads na target ang kabataan. Maaari itong magmukhang laro lang, pero sa katotohanan, isa itong sugal sa kinabukasan. Ang kita na dapat sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan o ipon na uubos sa sugal. At sa mundo ng online gambling, mas madali kang matalo kaysa manalo. Huwag hayaang sugal ang magdikta sa iyong buhay. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Pasasaan pa ang kalayaan kung ang mga alipin ngayon ay sila din naman mang-aalipin bukas.
Ibigin mo ang iyong bayan ng sunod kay Bathala, sa iyong kapurihan at higit sa lahat sa iyong sarili.
Hindi natin mapapalaya ang ating mga sarili maliban kung sumunong tayo na nagkakaisa sa iisang hangarin.
Ang tunay na makabayan ay ang tumutupad ng pagpapabuti ng kanyang mga kapwa, gaano man kaaba ang kanyang katungkulan. Naway magsilbing paalala ang kanilang mga salita upang lalo nating mahalin at tapat na paglingkuran ang minamahal nating inang bayan.
Sa kabila ng mga mas modernong kaalaman at teknolohiya, nananatiling matindi ang banta ng HIV sa Pilipinas. Pero gaano nga ba kalala ang sitwasyon? Ang HIV o Human Immunodeficiency Virus ay isang sakit na sumisira sa immune system ng katawan. Ngunit tandaan, hindi ito nakukuha sa simpleng pakikisalamuha. Hindi mo agad mararamdaman, pero unti-unti nitong pinapahina ang katawan. At kapag hindi naagapan, humahantong ito sa AIDS, ang huling yugto na impeksyon, kung saan halos wala ng panlaban ng katawan laban sa sakit. Patuloy na dumadami ang kaso ng sakit na ito sa Pilipinas. Isang nakababahalang pagtaas. Umabot na sa 500% ang itinaas ng HIV cases sa mga kabataang edad 15 hanggang 25. Ayon mismo sa Department of Health, 56 na bagong kaso ang naitatala kada araw sa bansa mula Enero hanggang Marso 2025. At ang pinakamatinding apektado, ang kalalakihan at kabataang Pilipino. Dahil dito, ang Pilipinas na ngayon ang may pinakamataas na bilang ng bagong kaso ng HIV sa buong Western Pacific region. Isang indikasyon ng lumulubahang sitwasyon. Kaya nananawagan ng Department of Health gawing opisyal at urgent ang laban sa HIV sa pamamagitan ng isang Public Health Emergency Declaration. Kalalakihan ng pangunahing apektado, 95% ng bagong kaso ay lalaki. Mahigit 1/4 ay kabataang nasa edad 15 hanggang 24. Habang wala pang deklarasyon, patuloy ang DOH sa mga sumusunod na hakbang: HIV testing, libreng gamot, self-test kits, at pakikipagtulungan sa DepEd para sa edukasyon sa mga paaralan. Isinulong rin ng DOH ang online patient appointment system para sa HIV patients. Layunin nitong gawing mas madali at mas personal ang pag-access sa libreng gamutan at konsultasyon. Ayon sa schedule ng pasyente, ang HIV ay hindi tulad ng flu. Hindi ito basta naipapasa sa hangin. Ito ay naipapasa sa pamamagitan ng personal na desisyon. Kailangan din nating pagtuunan ng pansin ang ugali, disiplina, at personal na responsibilidad. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Ikaw ba ay namomroblema sa taas ng electric bill buwan-buwan? Huwag mag-alala, narito ang ilang paraan upang makatipid sa kuryente. Patayin ang mga ilaw at appliances kapag hindi ginagamit. Sa halip ay gumamit ng natural na liwanag upang makatipid sa kuryente. Tanggalin sa saksakan ang mga appliances kung hindi ginagamit. Iwasan ang paggamit ng maraming appliances ng sabay-sabay. Gumamit ng LED bulbs. Ito ay mas tipid sa kuryente kumpara sa mga incandescent at fluorescent bulbs. Regular na linisin ang mga appliances tulad ng electric fan, aircon vents at refrigerator. Magkaroon ng takdang araw sa isang linggo sa pamamalansya at paglalaba. Gumamit ng energy-efficient appliances. Tandaan, maging wais sa paggamit ng kuryente upang makatipid para mas gumaan ang buhay. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama, nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo na malayan, ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. Nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod, pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakakadepress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman dyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawala ang motivation, hirap mag-isip ng malalim, parang lutang o foggy ang utak. Masaya sa simula, pero kapag sobra, napapagod ang isip mo. Nahihirapang mag-concentrate at parang lutang. Mas delikado pa ito sa mga bata dahil ang utak nila ay nasa proseso pa ng pag-develop. Kaya mas malakas ang epekto ng doom scrolling at brain rot sa kanila. Maaaring makaapekto sa pag-aaral, pag-iisip at pakikitungo sa iba. Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen, magbasa, makipagkwentuhan, magdasal, maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
The Philippine Consulate General in Hong Kong has confirmed that 92 Filipinos are safe and accounted for following the Taipo blaze, the deadliest fire Hong Kong has seen in decades. One OFW, however, has been reported dead, while another remains under medical treatment. Kai Villan has more details.
When the incident happened, the Philippine Consulate General has confirmed that 92 overseas Filipino workers are safe and one was injured following the tragic fire in Taipo. The last 2 names on the list were already in the Philippines when the incident happened. The victim who died was domestic worker Marian Pascual Estaban, who leaves behind her 10-year-old child in Cainta, Rizal. She had been scheduled to return home this Christmas. According to Migrant Workers Undersecretary Dominic Tutay, Estaban's sibling has already flown to Hong Kong for a compassionate visit, which the DMW helped to facilitate. Tutay assured that assistance for the affected overseas Filipino workers is already in place. The 100,000 peso debt assistance from the Action Fund will be released immediately to the families of deceased OFWs. For the injured, 75,000 pesos in medical assistance has been allotted to support their urgent treatment. In addition, OWA guaranteed scholarship support for the children of the victims and livelihood aid for their families. The local government is also set to provide separate assistance to the families of the deceased. Meanwhile, the DMW, OWA, and MWO Hong Kong continue coordinating to ensure all those who need help are reached. On repatriation, the DMW said arrangements will be fast-tracked with support from the consulate and OWA. DMW Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak said
The condition of the Filipino, who was earlier in critical status, is now stable following a successful medical procedure. He also assured that the family of the deceased is being assisted, including educational aid for the child and counseling for those who experience trauma.
Also, there's been great assistance with respect to our lone fatality thus far, and we hope it stays as one fatality. Already the family is being assisted, and very soon, with the cooperation of the Hong Kong government and the Hong Kong Labor Department, her remains will be repatriated to her family.
The secretary added that all family requests from the Philippines have already been addressed and no missing relatives have been reported.
And thus far, we've accounted for all the family requests back home. We have helplines back home, and we know of no family request that has not been covered at this stage. So the names that we're tracking down at the moment are not covered by any particular family request.
For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, Sky Villan, SMNI News.
Hong Kong Chief Executive John Lee announced the creation of a judge-led independent inquiry into the deadly Taipo fire that claimed at least 151 lives, including a firefighter, while confirming that the Legislative Council election will proceed as scheduled. Angel Pastor has the story.
Hong Kong Chief Executive John Lee announced on Tuesday the establishment of a judge-led independent inquiry into the deadly Taipo fire.
為防止同類悲劇再次發生，我會成立由一名法官主持嘅獨立委員會，審視事故嘅起火同埋迅速蔓延嘅原因。
It is the city's deadliest blaze in decades, claiming at least 151 lives, including a firefighter. Many were injured, around 40 remain missing, and 100 cases have been classified as unresolvable. The fire broke out shortly before 3 p.m. last Wednesday at the Wang Fu Court housing complex, where all 8 residential blocks were undergoing renovation and wrapped in green netting and scaffolding. According to Lee, the judge-chaired review committee will investigate the cause of the fire and whether systemic failures contributed to the disaster. The inquiry will examine building safety standards, construction oversight, material quality, and potential conflicts of interest.
場大火反映維修建築工程從施工到監督都出現嚴重疏忽，多個環節都出現。
In a separate investigation, 14 people have already been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter. The Independent Commission Against Corruption, or ICAC, is also probing alleged corruption in the renovation project, including the use of substandard and flammable materials.
大廈維修工程涉嫌貪污拘捕12人，調查證實裝修工程涉舞弊，有預謀咁用不合規嘅 非阻延圍網同一啲合規嘅圍網混合起嚟。
Despite the tragedy, Lee confirmed that the Legislative Council election on December 7 will proceed as scheduled.
我哋必須前行，先至能夠化悲痛為力量。如期完成立法會選舉，係對憲制秩序同埋法治精神嘅。
Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Angel Pastor, SMNI News.
Several of our fellow Filipinos have expressed disagreement over the Department of Trade and Industry's statement claiming that 500 peso would be enough for Noche Buena this coming Christmas. What do they have to say about it? Find out this report by Jason Rubico.
Vice President Sara Duterte returned to The Hague, Netherlands to visit her father at the International Criminal Court's detention facility. This came just days after the ICC denied former President Duterte's request for interim release. According to VP Sara, they did not discuss the court's decision and instead focused their conversation on other matters.
Maganda yung usapan namin sa politika. May konting usapan about sa pamilya pero karamihan sa politics at kung ano yung nangyayari.
The former president also has a message for his supporters.
Thank you for coming and showing your support to President Duterte. Tapos nagsabi siya na kasi nabanggit ko kanina na merong mga Filipinos dito sa labas ngayon. Sabi niya na nakailang ulit na daw siya nasabi sa inyo na natanggap niya daw lahat ng messages nyo, na tanggap niya rin ang mga prayers ninyo, and do not daw parang sacrifice your health staying out in the cold.
Meanwhile, Vice President Sara could not avoid commenting on the Department of Trade and Industry's suggested 500 peso budget for a family of four Noche Buena. According to VP Sara, it is not true that 500 pesos is enough for a Noche Buena, and it hasn't been enough for a long time. Despite the criticism, Trade Secretary Maria Cristina Roque stood by her statement, saying that a 500 peso Noche Buena is possible for a family of four, based on the DTI Noche Buena price guide released in November. Reporting for Newsline World, I am Jason Rubrico, SMNI News.
A growing number of lawmakers are reportedly on edge, worried that their names might surface in the ongoing investigation into the alleged flood control scam. MJ Mondia reports.
Nung ako po ay nasa plenaryo kanina, tinatanong ko ang aking mga kasamahan at lahat po sila actually nahihiya na ang kanilang boto laban sa pagiging kongresista ni Congressman Barzaga ay magiging on the record.
Batangas Representative Leandro Leviste gave this assessment following the 60-day suspension imposed by the House of Representatives on this fellow lawmaker, Cavite Congressman Kiko Barzaga. According to Leviste, all members of the House were required to attend the plenary session to secure the 2/3 of votes that is needed to penalize the congressman. Leviste was among the 5 lawmakers who voted against the suspension. He also criticized the chamber's lack of accomplishments in passing vital legislative measures. He said many lawmakers are currently not focused.
Dahil ang preoccupation ng maraming mga miyembro sa Kongreso ngayon ay huwag sila sanang madawit sa mga flood control investigations. Ang sabi nga po ng Ombudsman ay 10% ng Kongreso ay iniimbestigahan ngayon. At baka ang kinakatakutan ng ibang mga miyembro ay pagkakanta ang 10% na yan, baka almost 100% sa mga members ay in some way ma-implicate sa mga flood control controversies.
Leviste added that the 20th Congress is also considered one of the quietest in history, an assessment shared to him by veteran lawmakers. Ombudsman Boying Rimulya had earlier warned of a possible major disruption in the House of Representatives due to the number of congressmen who may be implicated in the flood control anomaly.
Wala nga masyadong ibang tinatalakay na mga batas ngayong nakaraang buwan na ito dahil nga distracted ang mga congressman sa kanilang mga sariling mga legal issues.
Meanwhile, Quezon City Representative Bong Suntay warned the public about the negative impact of Congressman Barzaga's suspension.
I cast a no vote because imposing sanction here creates a chilling effect. Not only on the member involved, but on all who depend on this chamber as a forum for candor, for courage, and confrontation when needed.
The lawmaker said it was a wrong move for the House leadership to punish a legislator who was merely expressing his views about what is happening in the government today.
Hindi ito ang panahon para paliitin ang espasyo ng pagsasalita. Ito ang panahon para palawakin, palakasin, at pangalagaan ito.
Reporting for Newsline World, this has been MJ Mondia, SMNI News.
When we return, in the Caribbean, the Pentagon launches Operation Southern Spear, reporting 82 alleged narcoterrorists killed in surge of U.S. strikes. Officials insist the campaign targets drug networks and reject claims of unlawful attacks. And showbiz drama actress Chiu files a qualified theft case against her sister Lakambini over financial discrepancies. Fans are stunned as the family feud unfolds in court. Newsline World will be back after the break.
Sa panahon ng tag-ulan, hindi lang baha at ulan ang dapat bantayan, kundi pati na rin mga sakit na pwedeng makahawa. At dahil ngayon ay rainy season, nagbabala ang Department of Health laban sa tinatawag na wild diseases. 4 na klase ng sakit na karaniwang nakukuha ng tao tuwing maulan. Ito ang W o waterborne diseases, gaya ng pagdudumi o gastroenteritis. I o influenza-like illnesses, gaya ng sipon, ubo at lagnat. L o leptospirosis, na maaaring makuha mula sa ihi ng mga daga sa baha. At D o dengue, na dala ng mga lamok. Kapag baha, mas mabilis kumalat ang mikrobyo. Kaya't ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at agad maligo matapos lumusong sa baha. Ano ang dapat gawin para maiwasan ang wild diseases? Tumutok sa weather updates. Magsuot ng kapote at bota. Siguraduhing malinis ang iniinom na tubig. Agad kumonsulta sa health center kung may nararamdamang sintomas. Mainam din gawin ang 40 o ang taob, taktak, tuyo at takip para maiwasan ang dengue sa bahay at komunidad. Maglinis, magmasid, mag-ingat. Labanan ang wild diseases ngayong tag-ulan. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
The Pentagon is reporting a wave of U.S. strikes in the Caribbean with 82 alleged narco-terrorists killed under Operation Southern Spear. Pentagon Press Secretary Kingsley Wilson says the campaign is aimed at drug trafficking networks while firmly rejecting accusations of unlawful targeting. Let's find out more about this with Prince Tripoli.
Pentagon Press Secretary Kingsley Wilson says 21 U.S. strikes have now been carried out across the Caribbean. Operations, she says, are designed to stop drug smuggling boats tied to terrorist-designated groups.
There have been a total of 21 kinetic strikes on drug boats in our hemisphere, with 82 narco-terrorists killed. Each strike conducted against these designated terrorist organizations is taken in defense of vital U.S. national interests and to protect the homeland.
Wilson also addressed a controversial report alleging Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered a second strike to kill survivors of a previous attack, a claim she says is entirely false.
A completely fake story in the Washington Post, now discredited by the New York Times, tried to mischaracterize these successful strikes in bad faith. It was an attempt to damage the secretary and the president, and the people saw through it. The phony Washington Post story even attributed statements to the secretary that were totally fabricated. He never said them.
The Pentagon spokesperson insisted everyone on the targeted vessels were verified narco-terrorists, saying each strike prevents mass casualties in the United States and that the operation is only gaining momentum.
This department will defend our homeland. This is not a catchphrase, it is a commitment. And as the Secretary said, when it comes to killing narco-terrorists, we have only just begun. Every single boat that we strike saves 25,000 American lives. That is a crucial mission to protecting the homeland, and we're proud to be a part of it.
Wilson also hit back at criticism from Democratic Senator Mark Kelly, who appeared in a video suggesting U.S. troops could face future persecution for following President Trump's orders. She accused Kelly of undermining military trust and of making a dangerous comparison.
I would just add that this despicable video that Mark Kelly participated in with the Seditious Six was a politically motivated influence operation that was an attempt to undermine the chain of command to sow distrust and division in our armed forces. He even called our troops and likened them to those of the Russian military. This is totally disgraceful from an elected official, and the department takes it very seriously.
The remarks follow the release of a 90-minute video by 6 Democratic lawmakers urging military personnel that they can and even must refuse an unlawful orders. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Prince Tripoli, SMNI News.
Venezuelan forces intercepted an unregistered aircraft that violated national airspace, prompting a rapid response under the military police exercise dubbed as Operation Bolivarian Shield 2025. Hannah Jane Sancho has more on this.
Elements of the Bolivarian National Armed Force tracked the unidentified aircraft on Tuesday as it flew illegally over the state of Bolivar. Authorities say the plane ignored radio calls, failed to establish contact with air traffic services, and did not submit any flight plan. Because of this, the aircraft was declared a target of interest. According to the Bolivarian Army, the aircraft may have been involved in cross-border drug trafficking operations. Commanders ordered its interception and immobilization as part of the ongoing efforts to secure Venezuelan airspace. The white aircraft was ultimately intercepted in Pedro Camejo municipality in Apure after its detection in Bolivar. No individuals were detained at the scene. So far this year, Venezuelan authorities have intercepted 27 aircraft with more than 400 rendered inoperable since the passage of the National Airspace Defense Law. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Hannah Jane Sancho, SMNI News.
Laos staged one of its largest national celebrations in decades on Tuesday as the country marked the 50th anniversary of the Lao People's Democratic Republic with a massive military and public security parade at that Luang Square in Vientiane. Jane Cudnita tells us more.
Thousands of troops from the Lao People's Army and Public Security Forces marched in formation through Tat Luang Square. Crowds filled the plaza, waving flags and cheering as army, police, and special forces units passed by. Contingents from ministries, state agencies, mass organizations, and Lao ethnic minority groups also joined the procession. Local media described the event as one of the most elaborate parades organized by the country in years. The event was led by Lao President and LPRP General Secretary Tong Lun Sisulith, joined by senior party and government leaders. Foreign dignitaries were also present, including Vietnamese General Secretary To Lam and delegations from China, Cuba, Russia, and Cambodia. Officials highlighted the anniversary as a symbol of national unity and the country's progress since the end of the monarchy in 1975. The parade followed weeks of large-scale rehearsals by the Lao People's Army. Cultural events and friendship programs were held across Vientiane ahead of the celebration, including a Laos-Vietnam cultural performance. A drone and fireworks show was scheduled for the evening, closing the day-long national commemoration. Laos marked its 50th founding anniversary with displays of unity, tradition, and military strength, reflecting 5 decades of the Lao PDR and its vision for the years ahead. This has been Jane Cudnita, your Global Citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Powerful moment on and off the pitch tonight in Doha as Palestine defeated Qatar 1-0 in the Arab Cup opener. For many fans, the victory wasn't just about football, but about giving hope and joy to Palestinians living through an unimaginable hardship. The scenes at Al Bayt Stadium were electric. Fans waving flags, families from across the Arab world gathering to witness Palestine's return to the Arab Cup. The match itself was tense until the final seconds. Then, in stoppage time, Qatar's Sultan Al Break turned the ball into his own goal, handing Palestine a dramatic 1-0 victory. For Palestinians fans, the emotions ran deeper than sport. This is Palestine's first Arab Cup appearance since the Gaza ceasefire, competing in Group A with Qatar, Syria, and Tunisia. Miss Universe Catriona Gray has once again voiced her commitment to fighting corruption in the Philippines, calling on the public to take action and protect the nation's future. Meanwhile, actress Chiu is facing a serious family and business dispute after filing a legal case against her sister. Blake Ann will give us the latest updates.
Miss Universe 2018 Catriona Gray once again showed her commitment to fighting corruption in the country. After speaking at the Trillion Peso March on November 30, she also used her social media to call for action. In her Instagram post on Monday, Gray lamented about the corruption in the Philippines. She emphasized that it's not only money that has been taken, but also the future of the nation's children. She also pointed out the lack of justice despite the outcry of the Filipino people. Catriona Grace calling on the public to take action and stand firm in order to finally fight corruption and protect the future of the next generations. Meanwhile, actress Kim Chiu is suing her sister Chiu for qualified theft after discovering alleged significant financial discrepancies in their shared business. In a statement on Tuesday, Kim said that taking legal action was one of the most difficult decisions of her life. She explained that many know how she built her business through hard work, passion, and trust in the people she loves. Unfortunately, she discovered that a substantial portion of their business assets had gone missing. As a result, she felt compelled to take formal action to protect not only her company, but also the livelihoods of the people who work with her. Kim added that while this is a personal matter, it has now entered the legal process. She said she chose to be transparent, responsible, and accountable not only for herself, but also for the brand and community that have supported her from the very beginning. According to her lawyer, Sailin Dolor, attempts to resolve the issue privately were unsuccessful. Dolor also confirmed that Lakambini was involved in the management of the business. Rumors of a rift between the sisters began in August when netizens noticed they had unfollowed each other in Instagram. Lakambini has yet to respond to media inquiries. Kim is asking the public for understanding and respect as her family navigates this difficult chapter. She remains focused on her work and the continued growth of her business. And that's all for now. I'm Blake Ann, bringing you the latest showbiz.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the sun. In everything you want to do, if you are committed, if you are consistent, you will succeed. And for Christmas countdown, only 22 days to go before Christmas. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Almar Forsuelo. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.